Hey comedy lovers! Welcome back to Comedy Bits and Clips, your one-stop shop for the funniest takes on real-world insanity. Today, we've got the one and only Bill Burr doing what he does best, taking something everyone's confused about and breaking it down in the most hilarious, no BS way possible. Ever wonder why your paycheck feels like it's shrinking while billionaires keep buying islands? Bill's about to explain the real villains of America's economic nightmare, and spoiler alert, it's not who politicians want you to think. Get ready for some truth bombs wrapped in that signature Bill Burr rage that'll have you laughing while saying, "Holy crap, he's right." Let's dive into this comedy gold.
By the way, I know everyone was freaking out about all that tariff stuff and all of that and what it was doing to the stock market, and then everybody jumped in and it looked like just this big manipulation of the market so that rich people could get even richer. And then, poor people could still chant USA, USA at a UFC event. I literally do not understand what's going on. First of all, I might be wrong on this. This whole idea that other countries stole our jobs, like our factory jobs and all that, as far as I remember, that's not the case. Here's a little quick history from someone who doesn't read a lot. In the 1800s, during the, what was that period called? The Industrial Revolution. They had like kids working in factories, like fucking 12, 14-hour days, like 4 or 5-year-old kids in dangerous situations. And people weren't making any money. And the one guy who owned the factory was keeping all the money. These robber barons, who all should be in fucking jail. But politicians don't make any money and they just throw them money. So they are on the legal side of stealing. No one's ever gone to jail for being a robber baron. Anyway, so the working man finally has enough. They start organizing unions. The robber barons hire police, the army, all of these people to come in and kill these people in riots, crack their skulls, do unbelievable sorts of damage to them to try and force them to go back to work for sweatshop wages. These people died, were maimed, catastrophic fucking injuries so that we could have a decent wage in this country. And they had unions and all of that. So then there was like a 40, 50-year period where being a middle-class person, middle-class white person, was the dream. Because there was still racism, classism, and all of that shit, right? Well, middle class is a class. There was still racism, okay? And then what happened was eventually these corporations just got sick of dealing with these unions and their hard-nosed negotiating and all that. And then they just said, well, fuck you then. Keep your union, keep your factory. We're leaving. And they took their factories outside of the U.S. and went back to 1800 wages. In Mexico, China, wherever the hell they're building them. So then what happened was once people realized that was happening, there was this pushback. This is how it happened during my lifetime. People were like, what the fuck? You should be making those things here. And then what the corporate guy said was, well, we would make sneakers here, but if to pay the American worker and everything, the sneakers would then, instead of costing $50, they'd now cost $700. And I was always thinking, why? It would cost $700, but I can't afford that. And what it really was they weren't going to lose the profit of sweatshop labor. So if they came back to America, we weren't going to work for that. So, and they weren't going to lose the profit of sweatshop labor, so they were going to pass it on to the consumer. That's what the fuck happened. So all of this talk that, Mexico stole our jobs, China stole our jobs, they didn't steal the jobs. They were exploited by the super rich cunts that are not patriots in this country. They're not. They're pieces of shit. So that's what the fuck happened. So, and then here we are all of these years later in an effort to get, this labor to come back. We're somehow trying to punish these other countries who've been suffering with sweatshop labor from a handful of super rich people from this country that fucked everyone in this country and every other country that they went to around the world, making America look bad. But what do? They divide us. They have the American worker who's getting fucked, mad at the whatever other worker around the world who's also getting fucked, actually getting fucked worse, getting sweatshop slave wages. So I really believe that was happening. And I don't understand what that whole fucking thing was, but all I know is once again, the market tanked and a bunch of rich people, right before they turned it back on again, went in and made a ridiculous amount of money, and they're all high-fiving with each other. And I don't know, this guy told me something a long time ago. He says, when you watch the stock market and they go like, up $2 billion was lost today. He's like, money isn't lost. Like, where did it go? That's just how they frame it. It isn't lost. It changes hands. All right, that's enough of that shit.
And there you have it, folks. Bill Burr cutting through the economic BS like only he can. If you're new here at Comedy Bits and Clips, this is what we're all about. Comedians telling the uncomfortable truths that most people are too afraid to say out loud. Did Bill's take have you nodding and laughing? Smash that like button. Want more comedians raging against the machine? Hit subscribe and the notification bell. Drop in the comments which comedian you want to see next on our channel, taking down the absurdities of modern life. Until next time, keep laughing at the madness. It's cheaper than therapy.